So, good morning. Today's class is about piezoelectric transducers. Okay, so in the last class, we have seen about LVDT, a linear variable differential transducer, and its characteristics. Okay, so uh, we are left with some minor topics like in thermocouples. Okay, after completing thermocouples, let us move on to this piezoelectric transducers, right? So, so thermocouple. Let us move on to thermocouple. So, thermocouple is a temperature transducer. Thermocouple is a temperature transducer. Already we have seen about thermocouples, right? So, thermocouple is a temperature transducer and it is used to measure temperature. It is an active type transducer. Good morning. Today's class is about thermocouples, some topics related to thermocouple, and let us move on to piezoelectric crystal. Piezoelectric crystal, right? So after completing the topic on thermocouples, let us move on to this piezoelectric crystals. Okay. In yesterday's class, we have seen in yesterday's class we have seen something about this LVDT and its characteristics. Okay, and we are left with some topics like uh, laws of thermocouples. And after completing that, let us move on to piezoelectric crystals, right? So, coming to this piezoelectric crystal, coming to this thermocouple is a active transducer. It doesn't need any external power supply for its working, right? So, this thermocouple is made up of two dissimilar metals. Okay, let us suppose I am taking two dissimilar metals, metal A and metal B. Okay, metal A metal A. This is metal A. Let us take this a green color as metal A semiconductor, and some other color. Let us take that color to represent metal B. So, if two dissimilar metals are joined to form two junctions, and if these two junctions, this is junction J1, this is junction J1, right? At temperature T1, this is junction J2 at temperature T2. Let us say. So if two dissimilar metals are joined to form two junctions, and if these two junctions are maintained at two different temperatures, then an electric current will flow through the loop. Okay, then an electric current will flow in the loop, right? So this is Seebeck effect. We have seen this thing, right? And if I cut the conductor, and if I cut the conductor, and if I put some voltmeter here, and if I cut the conductor, and if I put some voltmeter here, okay, so I am cutting here, so I am putting some voltmeter between these two conductors. Okay, let us suppose, and let me take another color. Okay, I'm taking a voltmeter here, right? Now the voltage in the voltmeter V is proportional to the EMF generated is proportional to differences of temperatures between these two junctions, T2 minus T1. Already we have seen this. Okay. And there are some laws regarding thermocouples. And generally thermocouples are used to measure temperature of higher order. Let us take from it is used to measure temperature between 100 degrees centigrade to uh, 2000 degrees centigrade, and there are some thermocouples, right? And there are some thermocouples, uh, and the example platinum radium and platinum thermocouple, and its range is from 100 degrees centigrade to 2400 degrees centigrade. 2400 degrees centigrade, this is the maximum range, right, to use thermocouples. Okay, so there are some laws of thermocouples. Generally, if I want to extend the range of these uh, thermocouples, generally, if I want to extend the range of thermocouples, then I will combine two or more thermocouples. So if I combine two or more thermocouples, then it is called thermopile. Okay, thermopile. Thermopile means if two thermocouples are joined to form a single thermocouple in order to extend the range, then it is called, then that thermocouple is called thermopile. Okay, these thermopiles are of two types. These thermopiles are of two types. First one is series type thermopile and next one is parallel thermopile. Okay, series thermopile and parallel thermopile. So in series thermopile, let us take, so let me take this a green color here. This is metal A. Okay, this is metal A, and let me take this red color. This is metal B. This is metal B, and again to this metal B, again I will connect metal A here. Okay, I'll connect metal A here. This is again metal A, and again I will connect here metal B. Again I will connect here metal B, and again I will take this metal A. Okay, so metal A is connected in series with metal B. Okay, so this is uh, this is metal A. This is metal B. Again to metal B, I am connecting metal A, and again to this metal A, I am connecting here metal B. Again to this metal B, I am connecting here metal A. Again to this metal A, I am connecting here metal B. So this is my measuring end. Okay, here I will connect a voltmeter like this. So here the thermocouples are connected in series with each other. So this type of thermocouple is called this this type of thermocouple connected in series is called series thermopile. Okay, series thermopile. Okay, thermopile means if two or more thermocouples are joined to form a single thermocouple, then it is called thermopile. Generally, these thermopiles are used to extend the ranges, measuring ranges of thermocouples, right? And for example, if like series thermopile, there is another thing called parallel thermopile. Okay, so this is metal A, this is metal A, right? And this is metal B, this is metal B. So to this metal A, I will connect metal B here. Okay, from from here, I will take a A, metal A here. This is metal A, right? And this is metal B. So this metal B, again I will connect, now this to this metal A. Again I will connect metal B, right? Okay, again to this metal B connection here, I will connect metal A here. So if metal A and metal B connected like this in parallel combination, and I will connect a voltmeter here. This here I will take a voltmeter, right? So this type of connection is called a parallel thermopile. Okay, this type of connection is called parallel thermopile. parallel thermopile, right? So this is about series thermopile and parallel thermopile, right? And there are two laws called law of intermediate temperatures and law of intermediate junctions. Okay, law of intermediate temperatures and law of intermediate junctions or intermediate metals, simply it's called, right? Law of intermediate temperatures and law of intermediate metals. Okay, these two laws are important with respect to these thermocouples. Okay, so let us see laws of thermocouples. First law I'm taking here is law of temperatures. Law of temperatures. Okay, law of temperatures means that here this is metal A, this is metal A, right, and this is metal B, right? And now I'm taking metal B here again, metal B here again, metal B in red color. Okay, metal B here, and some other metal, this is metal B here, right? And some other metal, I will take this blue color, this is metal C, right? This is metal B and this is metal C. Okay, and here I'm placing a voltmeter. So I will write here voltage V1 and here voltage V2, voltage V2. Sorry. Sorry. Metal A, this metal A, and right, okay. This junction is maintained, this junction is maintained at temperature T2, same temperature as this. So junction J1 is maintained at temperature T2 and this junction J2 is maintained at temperature T3. T3. So junction J1 is maintained at temperature T1, junction J2 is maintained at temperature T2, and here for this, I'm maintaining temperature, maintaining junction J1 at temperature T2, and this junction J2 at temperature T3. Now, let us suppose V1 is the voltage which is due to the temperature difference between T2 and T1. Okay, and here I'm getting voltage V2. So this voltage V2 is due to temperature difference between T3 and T2, right? So if I combine this, right, means uh, this is metal A, this is metal A, right, and this is metal C. I'm combining this now. This junction J1 at temperature T1 and this junction J2 at temperature T3, at temperature T3. Now let us suppose voltage which I got here is let us suppose it is V3. Okay, V3 is the voltage. Therefore V3 is equal to V1 plus V2, and it is equal to, or it is proportional to differences of temperatures T3 minus T1. difference of temperatures T3 and T1. Okay, this is called law of intermediate temperatures. Law of intermediate temperatures. Okay, and now law of intermediate junctions means here law of intermediate junctions here I'm introducing so this is a thermocouple is metal A, metal B. I'm getting voltage V1 here, which is proportional to T2 minus T1. Okay, or everything is same here. And here what I'm doing is I'm inserting another material. I'm inserting another material. This is metal A. Okay, and now I'm inserting another material here. Right now this becomes junction J3. This becomes junction J4. Junction J4. Even then, what what I get the voltage which I will get is same voltage. Okay, even if I insert any other metal in between these two metals, even then the voltage which I get is same. Right? This is called law of intermediate metals. Okay. So now move on to our topic, piezoelectric crystals. Piezoelectric crystals. Right? So piezoelectric crystals. So here, what do you mean by piezo? Piezo means stress. Piezo means stress. Electric means electric signal. It will voltage or current. Generally, it's voltage, right? And crystals means if I apply stress on the crystal, okay, then if the output of crystal is a voltage, then the materials or the instruments which work on this principle is called piezoelectric principle or piezoelectric instruments. So piezoelectric principle means if stress is applied on a material and if output voltage, if I get voltage as output for it, then this property is called piezoelectric property. Okay. The instruments which follow this property are called piezoelectric instruments, right? So stress kanaka మనం apply చేస్తే, if I apply any stress here, then the output will be voltage. This is also, piezoelectric crystal is also an active device. It is also an active device. What is active device? A device which doesn't need an external power supply for its working is called active device. So these piezoelectric crystals doesn't require any external power supply for their work. They grasp power or they grasp uh, input. Sorry, uh, they grasp power from the input itself. So they doesn't need any external power supply for their working. Example, solar panels also for their working they grasp uh, signal from input itself. Okay, illumination. So that doesn't need an external power supply for the working. Example, piezoelectric crystals and thermocouples, solar panels, etc., etc., etc. Right? So these devices are called active devices, and piezoelectric crystal is also an active device, which doesn't need an external power supply for its working. Okay. So if I apply stress here, then it gives me voltage. The stress The stress may be due to applied pressure. Applied pressure. The stress is due to applied force. The stress obtained is due to displacement. Displacement. The stress is due to load. Okay. Uh, the stress is due to vibration. So stress may occur in any form. So if the stress on the crystal is due to pressure, then I can measure this pressure in terms of voltage. Why? Because if the stress is due to pressure, the crystal converts stress into voltage. So the stress is proportional to pressure applied, and the voltage which I got at the output is proportional to stress. So I can measure pressure in terms of voltage. In terms of voltage, if the stress is due to force, then I can measure force here. If the stress is due to displacement, then I will get output voltage which is proportional to displacement. If the stress is proportional, if the stress is due to load, if the stress is due to load, then I will get output voltage proportional to load here. Okay. If the stress is due to vibration, then I'll get output voltage proportional to vibration. So here pressure, force, displacement, load, vibration, etc., 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 can give me stress. If the stress is applied on a crystal, then the crystal converts this applied stress, piezo means stress here, okay, into electric signal voltage. That's why this crystal is called piezoelectric crystal, and this principle is called piezoelectric principle. So I can use these piezoelectric crystals for these many applications. So these are the applications of piezoelectric crystals. I can measure pressure, I can measure force, I can measure displacement, I can measure load, I can measure vibration, etc., etc., by using these piezoelectric crystals. Okay. So So these piezoelectric crystals are of two types. Are of two types. First one is first one is natural crystals. Natural crystals. Natural crystals. Second one is synthetic crystals. Second one is synthetic crystals. Natural crystals are found in nature. Synthetic crystals are manufactured in laboratories. So examples for natural crystals are quartz, quartz, Rochelle salt, Rochelle salt, tourmaline, tourmaline, ceramics A, ceramics A, and ceramics B. These are the natural crystals. Generally, quartz, Rochelle salt, tourmaline are natural crystals. Okay, and coming to synthetic crystals, lithium dihydrogen phosphate, lithium dihydrogen sulfate, dipotassium tartarate, ceramics A, ceramics B are synthetic crystals. Okay, lithium hydrogen phosphate, lithium hydrogen sulfate, dipotassium tartarate, ceramics A, ceramics B are the examples for synthetic crystals. Okay, of course, quartz, Rochelle salt, tourmaline doesn't possess these piezoelectric properties of their own. Why? Because they they are with so many impurities. Okay, so if quartz, rochelle salt, tourmaline, quartz, rochelle salt, tourmaline are purified in aqueous solutions, are purified when with uh, by treating it with aqueous solutions. Okay, if they are purified, then they can get these properties. Without purification, quartz, rochelle salt, tourmaline doesn't possess these piezoelectric properties. Okay, coming to synthetic crystals, as they are manufactured in the labs under most a significant manner. Okay, by taking a lot of care, by taking by carefully selecting the materials and by treating it with some solutions to eliminate all the impurities, synthetic crystals possess much more physiologic properties. Okay, examples for synthetic crystals are lithium dihydrogen phosphate, lithium hydrogen sulfate, dipotassium tartarate, ceramics A, ceramics B are the examples for this synthetic crystals. Okay, so how they work? How they will work? Let us suppose this is a this is a crystal. Okay, let us suppose this is a crystal, right? This is a crystal, piezoelectric crystal. Now, what I am doing is I am placing this piezoelectric crystal. I am placing this piezoelectric crystal between two metallic plates. Between two metallic plates. Let me take another color. Two metallic plates. Okay. This is first metallic plate. Okay. This is first metallic plate, and this one is second metallic plate. Okay, in between these two metallic plates, I'm using this crystal. I'm placing this crystal. So if I apply any force in this manner, if I apply any force in this manner, right, then what will happen means the crystal will deform. Okay, the crystal has a property to deform, right? So if the crystal deforms, what will happen? The charge carriers inside the crystal will tend to move. Okay, charge carriers inside the crystal will tend to move. Okay, so if charge carriers move, then what will happen? I will get electric current. Okay, so so if charge carriers move, then what will happen? It constitutes electric current. So to grasp that electric currents, I'm making two ohmic contacts. There is a ohmic contact. That's why I'm using two metallic plates here. This is one ohmic contact, right? So if I apply stress like this, okay, or if I apply displacement like this, or if I apply pressure like this, or if I apply vibration like this, so what will happen? It creates a stress. It creates stress. Due to stress, the crystal will deform. Means the shape of the crystal will be altered. Shape maripotu. So what will happen means the charge carriers inside the crystal will move, will tend to move. Okay. If charge carriers move, then what will happen? I will get an electric current. So I am using two metallic contacts here. to get a potential difference, to take the potential difference. Output voltage V, which I got here, is equal to Q by C, where Q is charge and C is the capacitance. Where is the capacitance here? Here, I am using two metallic plates. Between these two metallic plates, I am using crystal. The crystal may be made of quartz, rochelle salt, tourmaline, lithium dihydrogen phosphate, lithium dihydrogen sulfate, dipotassium tartarate, ceramics A, ceramics B, anything. This crystal may be of, right? So, what will happen means it will look like these are two parallel plates. In between, the material crystal as a dielectric, so it behaves as a capacitor. Therefore, output voltage V equal to Q by C. Output voltage V equal to Q by C. One point to remember is the amount of deformation decides the moment of charge here. The moment of charge here. Okay. For example, if I apply high pressures, even if I apply high pressure, or if I apply high displacement, or if I apply high force, but if the amount of deformation is very less, if the amount of deformation of the crystal, if it is very less, then I will get low voltage. I will get very low voltage. So here, the amount of deformation decides the voltage output here. Okay, so how I have to make this crystal means, let us suppose this is a crystal. Okay, let us suppose this is a crystal. If I apply force like this, then what will happen? Crystal will deform. So its shape changes like this. Its shape changes like this. Okay, why? Because I am pressing here. Okay, I am applying force like this. So this shape will be now like this. See here, the crystal length increased here. Okay, horizontal length decreased, horizontal length increased here, and vertical length decreased. Likewise, the crystal structure will deform. Then I will get potential output voltage here. But output voltage which I will get is very less. Why? Because I am applying force on this vertex. Since I am applying force on vertex, the deformation will be very less. Okay. For example, let us take this is a crystal. And if I apply force like this, face, if I apply force on the face of this crystal, on the not on vertex, ఈ వర్టెక్స్ మీద కాకుండా ఈ ఫేస్ మీద కనుక నేను ఫోర్స్ అప్లై చేస్తే, then the amount of deformation will be very high. Why? Because it has larger surface. This larger surface will take the input evenly, so that the deformation will be very high. So the crystal will deform like this. So for the same applied force, the same applied force previously, this is the amount of deformation, and now this is the amount of deformation, right? For the same applied voltage, for the same applied force. So output voltage increases now, and this is correct. This is correct method of applying force. This is wrong method of applying force. Okay, but there are some circumstances in which we will use vertexes also. If I apply, like in thermocouples, if I combine two thermocouples, they form thermopiles. Likewise, if I if I combine two crystals, then it will form bimorph. Okay, bimorph. Bimorph means if I bimorph. Bimorph means if I combine two crystals, then it is called bimorph. If I combine more than two crystals, then it is called multimorph. Okay, that is called multimorph. That is called multimorph. Right. So, so I may apply force on phase, vertex. Okay, and deformation will be the deciding factor to get output voltage. The types of bioforms: bender bimorph, twister bimorph. Okay, there are types and matter, right? Bender bimorph means, let us take this is a crystal. Let us take this is a crystal, right? And I'm applying force like this. Then the crystal structure will bend like this, and its shape will differ like this. Okay, so if let's suppose this is a crystal, I'm applying force like this, then it, then due to the applied force, the crystal will deform like this. So this is called bender bimorph, right? Second one is twister bimorph. What do you mean twister bimorph means? I am what I'm doing is what I'm doing is I'm applying I'm applying force here like this and force here like this. Force here like this. Okay. Then the crystal will be twisted. Then the crystal will be twisted and what? Okay. So the crystal will be twisted like this. Okay. It will be twisted like this. Okay. This is called twister bimorph. This is called twister bimorph. Okay. So the main applications of this piezoelectric crystals are to measure force, to measure pressure, to measure vibrations, to measure stress, okay, to measure load, etc., etc., etc. of the applications of piezoelectric crystals. And there's some advantages of these piezoelectric crystals. First and main advantage is it has high frequency response. It has high frequency response, and it is very easy to handle. Why? Because it is available in very small size, and it can withstand very high loads also. That's why it's very rugged, right? And quartz, berbetanite, etc., etc., are the main materials to construct these crystals. And these are natural crystals, and these are available in nature. So, since they are abundance in nature, abundance in nature, cost is also less, right? The output is free from noise for this. It has high signal to noise ratio. And there are some disadvantages like temperature problems, okay, and environmental problems, right? And now these crystals will operate with small electric charges. It is one of the advantages, okay, but the main disadvantage is are very sensitive to environmental conditions. So the output of this crystal will be very less. That's why we need some amplifiers to amplify the signal. Okay, this is all for this class, and we'll continue in next class. Any doubts? Is it clear for you?
Yes, sir.
Right.